and any other people that might be tuning in to my music channel. My subs have gone up quite a bit, but views are still pretty poor. Although thank you to those who do give me some of their time. This new review today is going to be another review of an album by Paul Weller. It's called Wake Up the Nation. It came out in 2010. Those who follow my channel will know that I'm a big fan of Paul's, and this in fact is the fourth review from his discography. I've previously done the first solo album, Sonik Kicks, and last year's On Sunset. So a brief history for those who don't know. Paul Weller, born 1958, is an English singer-songwriter and musician. He achieved fame with the punk rock new wave mod revival band The Jam, and he had further success with the blue-eyed soul music of the Style Council from 1983 to 1989, and he established himself as a solo artist with that first album in 1992. Now, despite widespread critical recognition as a singer, lyricist and guitarist, Weller has remained very much a national rather than an international star, and much of his songwriting is rooted in English society. And this originated back in his Jam days, where he wrote a lot about working class life and its struggles. He was the principal figure in the 70s and 80s mod revival, and he's often referred to as the Modfather. He's also considered a great influence on the Britpop bands such as Oasis and Blur. The Daily Telegraph, which is a London-based newspaper in the UK, said of him, apart from David Bowie, it's hard to think of any British solo artist who's had as varied, long-lasting and forward-looking a career than Paul Weller. And the BBC described Weller in 2007 as one of the most revered music writers and performers of the past 30 years. Solo recording career was launched in 1992 with the Paul Weller album, which I've referred to before. And it began to re-establish himself really as a leading British singer-songwriter. The last year of the Style Council saw a big decline in their popularity. The self-titled album saw a return to a more jazz guitar-focused sound, featuring samples and a funk influence, which was what he brought with him from the Style Council sound. And as I said, I reviewed Sonik Kicks, which was released in 2012, and On Sunset. So now let's move on to the main course, Wake Up the Nation. It was described as a plea, really, to turn the clock back. That's how people viewed Weller's messages. He was very anti-Facebook, not into mobile phones, and he was inclined to want to return to simple interactions like posting letters and protest. Lots of short tracks on this album, 2 minutes or less, but it's a very eclectic mix as always, and I'm going to make the point that repeated listening is essential on here. It took me 4 or 5 listens before I started to recall any of the tracks as they whiz past you at a fast rate of knots. So that's what you need to do if you want to get this one implanted in your memory recall. To the tracks then, the opener is Moonshine. It's a bit of a rocker with some hot piano on steroids, real jam-like I felt, with pinch psychedelia meets Ray Davies from the Kinks. It's just 2 minutes and 12 seconds of noisy fun with some strange sound effects to boot. Is this avant-garde, the Jam pop art, I ask myself. Lyrically, it's a look at different parts of one's personality and how I can change as time moves on. Featured on this first track is Bev Bevan, the old Move and ELO drummer, and he also helps out on the second track, the title track, Wake Up the Nation. This is very much 2010 punk with weirdo noises and rhythmic attitude. Paul's robust vocals and a touch of pipes, or is it recorders, confuse us all. There's a sax thrown in here as well, but I couldn't hear it very well. Repeated listens very necessary on this one. Lyrically, it's a plea to be socially and politically active and not to hide in social media. So that's what the second track meant to me. Track 3, No Tears to Cry. It's very 50s, I thought, R&B feel. A la Gene Pitney came to mind. Paul's vocals centre stage and stylish piano. There's some nice bits of cello, violin and viola that add to the textured sound. It's very fulsome. Lyrically, I think it focuses on the emptiness when a relationship ends. Next up is Fast Car, Slow Traffic. Very up-tempo, very fast rock with a touch of humour. The piano's thrown into the mix and his old chum Bruce Foxton appears on bass here. The piano owes a nod to Bowie's 70s stuff, and then the crunching guitars illustrate Craddock and Paul sort of cohesion, reminding us of their punk origins, I felt. But it's certainly new for sure. Lyrically, urban traffic and how it slows everyone down and numbs us all. Next up is Andromeda, and I really like this track. It's not a very long track, however, but it's got a commanding, warm rhythm, and it's very Bowie-ish, I felt. The mood, certainly 70s, and it's got some brief, booming strings. Lyrically, Paul's an astronaut escaping a dying planet and hoping to meet Bowie somewhere up above the stars. The next track in Amsterdam, couldn't really get into this one. Lots of name dropping about clubs in Amsterdam. I don't know if there's any sexual message hidden in there. But track 7's a real strong piece. She Speaks. A heavy riff is sprinkled with spacey sounds and percussive beats. It's got some spacious piano, and there's an odd mix with Weller's vocal, both soulful and dark. 2 or 3 listens are necessary and you're hooked into the mystic. Foxton again plays on this one and he's pretty solid. Lyrically, not sure, but maybe about a rock star's journey, being uncertain, and you just keep moving forward to a place more creative. Torch Burn the Plans is next, and as I said, as each track arrives, you're guaranteed an eclectic mix. This song has a rousing psychedelic haze, aside Paul's vocals that get better on each release, I feel. Truly inspiring. There's some decent lead guitar, but it's partly hidden, which is a shame because I heard a slight Hendrix detail there. Lyrically, it's a message about being free with your life, with your plans, with your desires, and with your moves. Next up, track 9's Aim High. There's some funky percussion with soul harmony vocals here, and they breeze in with those odd keyboard noises. And Craddock's chord riffs chop into spitting horns. Then the arrangements give us some Curtis Mayfield-like feel. Not for the first time from Weller, of course. And the chorus takes us out with those horns. Lyrically, I think it's a great story about the feeling of being in love. It's Trees, one of the longer tracks on this album. It's got a sing-along barroom feel with rock and roll at the top of the agenda, and then a waltz-like beat takes over, which is very humorous for sure. It seems to signal music hall 50s perhaps, but it then collides with a fast punky second half and then relocates the first sequence before ending with a piano vocal duet. It's quite a mixture, this track. Lyrically, it's a magnificent morphing epic centred on old folks recounting the strength and beauty of their youth. Grasp and Still Connects next, another jaunty rhythm, very South London-like. The lyrics, growing through life with someone special, seems to be Paul's message on this one. And then we get to Whatever Next, track 12. It's a kaleidoscope of noises that filter into a strident beat, and it's devoid really of any vocals. and it's all over in a minute 45. 7 and 3 is the strikers' names. Up next, politics with a grain of fun in this zippy rhythm. It's got some weird sounds back in the mix, and the drums skip march-like. And there's some hazardous piano that make for a real wacky sound. And there's an odd sha-la-la exit sound as well on the vocals. The title suggests a struggle by the working man, but the words, albeit full of anger, also touch on being part of a union with a special love. Maybe that's a metaphor. Then we move to Up the Dosage. It's a jam-like stomp, this one. Sets off the rhythm section, and Craddock is on thumping bass on this one. Again, lyrically, it references rock and roll icon Eddie Cochran and suggests Paul's birth into music with dancing and excitement, and parallels with that first adolescent love. Next up, and the penultimate track, is Pieces of a Dream. Very spacey strings to start on top of a rock riff. It's a very unusual song. The lyrics are a bit surreal as well. The theme may be experience that's unusual and unexplainable. And so to the finale, it's Two Fat Ladies. This is a real bash, and it hits the guitar riffs, and then we explode like a greyhound out of the trap. It's very much Jam meets who I guess schizoid guitar breaks. Lyrically, it's a nostalgic glimpse at family, your home town, and the gap maybe between then and now. So that concludes this review. In summary, I have to say that this, more than any Weller release, has forced me to listen repeatedly to get the full value from it. And I really suggest that you need to do that. But you will be rewarded. This is a highly competent piece of work by a musician right at the top of his game. I'm intending over the next, maybe this year, to try and get through his total solo discography. I know there's a lot of work to be done, but this man deserves the recognition. He's a tremendous artist. He comes from a part of the world very close to where I was born, so I have a particularly soft spot for his stuff. Anyway, get to listen to it. It's the 2010 release of Wake Up the Nation, and it's by Paul Weller.